Hi, everybody. I'm Angela Ross. I'm the Registrar and Associate Dean at Mount West Community and Technical College. I've been here 5 years now. On top of my experience at Mount West, I have been at Morehead State University and Maysville Community and Technical College. Both of those schools were in Kentucky. I have about 20 years of experience, all in all, in student services and higher education. At Morehead State, I was actually under the provost instead of student services, but student services for the community college is where almost always you have the majority of your registrars in the community college. So today we're going to go over student services and how to get information for your students that you're trying to help. As I said, student services at community colleges almost handles everything other than the actual teaching of the courses for your students. Usually the services are very close together in proximity compared to universities. We like to try to keep those services close together so that students don't get lost, so that they don't have to run from place to place to place. So most of us will have a one-stop or a student services area that houses almost all services for the students. Student services is a big umbrella that normally houses recruiting, admissions, advising, financial aid, disability services, as I said, the registrar's office, career services, and normally mental health services. Each school can be set up a little differently, but these are the common things that you can expect in your student services areas. And the goal of student services is to assist students with meeting their educational goals. But we have so many other things outside of just the sheer education that we have to look at when we're talking about students and the things that they need as far as just getting by day to day. Food shortages, housing, mental health services, things like that. So today I'd like to ask a quick question. What job title does the person have who helped you most in your college education so far? Stephen, I'm going to pick on you.
Probably my student counselors, helping me get all my classes figured out and telling me which credits would carry on if I wanted to go to a university.
Okay. So that person was definitely in the student services area.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Anybody else want to share who so far has been the most helpful to you trying to get your education?
I would have to say the advisors.
Advisors.
Hmm.
They're huge. If they don't know the answer, they will find it out for you. So that's why student services is so important. As you can see, most of the time it is someone in student services who has that first interaction with a student and holds that relationship throughout the student's career. Faculty are very, very important for the educational side, but sometimes they seem to be very intimidating to students, especially their first semester or so. And at a community college, it's almost over before it starts. So sometimes they don't form those tight relationships with faculty like they do with the student services staff. We often see that staff in student services play just as big a role in the student's success as the faculty do. Student service is often the first person who sees and forms those relationships and makes the student feel comfortable and a part of the community. We often help students with issues, like I said, outside of academic. Of course, we handle class ads, class drops, those kind of things. But at Mount West, we have a food pantry. We have transportation programs. We have resources for mental health and for housing, because all these things have to be met before a student can even think about trying to achieve their educational goals. And we're here to help them do that. So we have to meet those basic needs for students. So let's talk about, I skipped my agenda, but sorry about that. So let's talk about each one of the student services that we have here at Mount West, which is more than likely what you all have at your schools as well. So recruiting, this is normally the men and women who go out to the high schools, they go out to the workforce development offices, and they try to find people who want to come to school. Here we have one recruiter, and then we have our peer coaches and an admissions person who helps get students in the school, get their admission application done, start them down the FAFSA lane, all that kind of stuff. Next, we have admissions. We have one person who actually does the physical data entry. But once again, we have some wonderful peer coaches who are part-time employees of the school who actually help students from the applying for college point until they get to a counselor to actually get registered. So admissions isn't necessarily just the data entry part. It is the getting everything lined up, trying to get the high school transcripts, the college transcripts, SAT and ACT scores, and get the FAFSA completed and all those pieces of documentation that the students need. Then we have our advisors who actually do the first year scheduling here for classes. They are the first ones to, after the peer coaches, to really have a lasting relationship with students, on top of registering them for classes and dropping them from classes and making sure that they're on the right path to graduation. These are normally the individuals who are going to talk to students about housing, food, transportation. Right now, internet service and hardware, computers, those kind of things. These are going to be the people who make sure that the student has everything they need before they actually get to the classroom. A service that is extremely important that a lot of people don't know about is the disability services. Disability services can be something as big as someone who has a hearing problem or a sight problem, and us getting that student the technical equipment that they need, to someone who has documented test anxiety and they need extra time for tests and those kind of things. So knowing who the disability person is on your campus is extremely important, because you as college ambassadors are probably going to find that people will tell you things that they need help with, and you definitely need to know who to send those students to. So on your campus, find out who your disability services coordinator is. It's not only just a good thing for students, it's also a legal thing. We need to know that information. So getting them to the right person as soon as possible helps in a lot of ways. Probably the biggest area in student services anymore is financial aid. They don't just cover the FAFSA, but in West Virginia now they cover West Virginia Invest, the high school grants, all different kinds of things. They normally are the ones that have a big hand in any scholarships that your institution has. Getting to know these people are extremely important, and getting to in a relationship with them to help your students is extremely important. The registrar's office is almost always housed in student services, but sometimes it is on the academic side as well. But the registrar's office is normally kind of a silent group in the background. They are the ones who are setting up the schedule for the next semester. They're the ones that are doing grades and those kind of things. I can tell you in most schools that I've been to, if you have a question, if you ask somebody in the registrar's office, they're probably going to be the ones that know where to send you to, even if it's not in their area, because they just have such a wide group of responsibilities and they touch everything that everybody else is doing. We don't really work in silos in student services as much as you would think, even though there's very distinct areas. The registrar's office touches financial aid a lot. We work with business services and student accounts a lot. We have all kinds of relationships with the faculty and that kind of stuff. So knowing your registrar and registrar staff is extremely important because, as I said, you can almost always get the answer that you need, even if it's not in that group's purview. They are there to help as much as possible. Career services is normally at the end of the student's career, but at Mount West, our career services person also does career inventories for students who are undecided. So you might want to check at your local campus to see if your career services personnel or someone else does those kind of inventories for students who are not sure when they come into college what they want to do. Career services here, as I said, at the end of the student's career, works with students getting jobs, getting their resumes together, interview skills, stuff like that. Food insecurities are unfortunately very common amongst community college students. So we do have a food pantry here, and I'm pretty sure most community colleges do. If they don't have one on campus, they definitely have the resources to tell students where to go so that they can find food. We have transportation assistance here. Basically, we have an agreement with the Transportation Authority, and we can give out bus passes to anybody who needs those. We've also set up, hadn't been used very much, but we do have a setup where if there's people traveling back and forth from any kind of distance, you can ask, to ride share and that kind of stuff. IT help is not in student services at Mount West. It's not under that umbrella, but it is a huge thing to know where to go to get services for your IT help. Students need that even more today than they did a year ago. So make sure you have that contact information of who can help with the Blackboard account, with the email address. If you all are having laptop loaner programs or anything like that, make sure that you have that information and ask your supervisor about those individuals. Also know anybody who has the different software keys. At Mount West, for example, we have someone who does Blackboard completely. She's any problems with Blackboard, whether it be the student side, the faculty side, she's the person to go to. So individual software problems, find out who to go to for those so that your student is not bounced around to a bunch of different people trying to find assistance for that. Their self-service is something that a lot of times they don't know how to get into, their email address, those kind of things. Sometimes it's your IT help people, but sometimes there's a specific person on your campus that has that knowledge and that key to those software solutions. Mental health services has definitely been something in my 20 years that just keeps becoming a larger need on our campuses. So if you don't have a mental health provider on your campus specifically, definitely your advisors, your counselors, and your supervisor will be able to tell you who to send those students to if they're asking for mental health services. But most of the time on mental health services, I will say, even myself, I prefer to get them to somebody on campus who knows what's going on. That can be a pretty touchy subject. And they're probably not going to ask you directly, do you have mental health services? You're just going to pick up on clues that something's not quite right and they need more assistance than you can provide. So that's the end of the services that we have here at Mount West. So do any of you all have extra services on your campuses that you want to talk about? All right, so what is your role in student services? Do all of you report to someone in student services? Or do you have a supervisor that's in academics or somewhere else?
I report directly to my supervisor.
And what's their title and what division are they in?
Oh, she'd kill me. I don't know her specific title, but she's over like the whole admissions and.
I would say she's definitely in student services then.
Yeah, student services, but.
Another name that you all might use at other colleges is student affairs, student services. So it could be either one of those. So you have AmeriCorps goals and objectives, but you're there to help the students realize their dreams and guide them in what can be a very strange world to them. Sometimes it's a strange world to us, and things change so much, just depending on the day, really, because right now we're living in a strange time, and who would have ever thought that we would be doing so much over the computers and stuff. And a lot of people just are not comfortable with this format yet. So don't be afraid to tell a student that you don't know the answer or that you need to get help from somebody else. Ask your supervisor, get to know the people in student services so that you can help the student achieve their goal. That's what you all are here to do. You have wonderful goals and objectives. Your roles are very important and you're needed. And I want to personally thank you for your service to our community colleges here in West Virginia. Is there any questions about student services that you all would like to ask?